Quick, it's dragon time, whoopee! And the episode's really good, but first, hello, hi, g'day. Some people were curious what my plan is for the season, but not curious enough to read. I am working on those heavily produced video essay thingies from last season. Those are happening. I'm taking my time with them and they're going to be better for it. They were never going to be weekly because this season I'm also working on Alt-Shift-X videos. Don't tell Swift, he's very sensitive about it. But throughout the season I'll be making shorter videos on more specific topics. You'll be getting those in addition to this Dragon Time series. This week's full discussion is almost 4 hours long because we cannot shut up, and you can watch the whole thing on Nebula. Wow! Swift and I now have 55 hours of exclusive bonus content up there, which you can watch for as little as $2.50 a month if you sign up using the link below to get a 40% discount. Nebula is a creator-owned streaming platform where content freaks get to do whatever weird stuff tickles them without you Googabet screaming at them. Like our almost day-long commentary video, The Fake Jon Snow. There's no way Alpha Tubegal was gonna let that one fly. That's go.nebula.tv/Glidus. $2.50 for over 50 hours of our exclusive content and thousands of hours of other great creators too. Thanks Nebula for sponsoring this video. I love you so much.
Dragon Time?
Oh, again, so soon.
What did you think of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2?
I thought that House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2 was brilliant.
I think that was the best episode of TV I've seen all year.
Yeah, do you watch much TV?
I only watch
shows?
dragon and dragon-related media. I'm not allowed to watch anything that hasn't got a dragon.
We've been banned.
No, this was a fantastic episode. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, right out of the gate, this is fantastic. My favorite episodes of Game of Thrones were the ones that dealt with the fallout of a big crazy thing happening, and that's exactly what this is.
And in a lot of ways, this entire series is like the fallout of Viserys' death and mismanagement, right?
But you can't call the series Fallout for obvious reasons.
Or Bezos will swoop down upon thee like a thunderous hawk of vengeance. Opening sequence didn't change. It has Vhagar killing Luke. I thought there was going to be a new image of the death of Jaehaerys. How slow are these embroiderers, bro? Like, why? What are they doing?
I'd like to see you embroider that fast.
If you saw me embroider, you'd be impressed. I'll just say that. So the opening of the episode shows the bloody sheets. They have been like trying to be tasteful by just showing us like the blood stains and like the camera turning away from the murder.
Yeah, and the reattached head on the baby's body.
Yes, no,
very tasteful.
They did do that, didn't they? And then the wagon bumped, and I thought the head was gonna pop off. That was upsetting. I'm upset.
And for some street urchins to go play football with it.
They said they were taking Jaehaerys to a funeral, but we didn't get to see the funeral itself.
Did they cremate Viserys?
You'd
assume that they would.
Yeah, well, we saw him get bundled up into his little death cocoon, but we did not see the
Maybe he's still
fire.
metamorphosing.
It wouldn't it be funny if like halfway through this season, like Paddy Considine just like crawls out of his pod.
And he has a beautiful pair of wings on his back and he flutters off in That's how dragons are made!
Wow!
Oh my god!
That's what they're trying to tell us with the start of the tapestry. Wings of fire. Viserys will be reborn like Aerion Bright Flame. So who do you think poisoned the wildfire? Because if it weren't for those evil maesters, then Aerion surely would have been reborn. Wildfire is very healthful.
Someone poisoned the anthrax.
We're doing one of these every week, by the way, one of these chats.
Oh yeah, and the full thing's up on Nebula.
So thank you for supporting us.
Woohoo.
So the prince is dead.
Oh, bummer.
We should stop laughing. The prince is dead, Glidus.
That's really sad.
This is similar to season 1 when all of the common folk and staff were being rounded up when the king died.
After Viserys' death, yeah.
Very much of this episode was like backwards looking. And that is what
really
gave
is
it its power.
A retrospect. It's not just the fallout of the previous episode, it's the fallout of the previous 11 episodes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great stuff. Fantastic.
That's the stuff, Lionel.
Traitors and villains, I'll kill them all. Oh, I loved Tom this episode. It's so hard to pick a favorite performance this episode. They were all so fucking good.
Well, I think Rhaenyra and Daemon was maybe the most memorable scene.
But then Otto happened.
Yeah.
That scene happened as well.
There was so many banger scenes. Yeah. I think that what was great was that the death of this child was the catalyst for everybody to finally say what they've been thinking this whole time. Like, Otto finally, like, says what he feels for the first time in this series.
That's what I was asking for last episode. I was like, when are we going to see this guy, like, just put the mask down and lose it?
And Rhaenyra finally just, like, says what is really going on with her and Daemon, which is that he is a loose cannon and has never really respected her. Fucking spectacular stuff.
Aegon is destroying Viserys's project here. He's crashing his father's legacy.
They could not make the symbolism any more on the nose. By directing his anger at Viserys' Valyria model, he's directing his anger at his father.
It's also a representation of Valyria, you know, the entire structure that led to these blonde, angry people being in charge of everything.
Aegon is bringing doom upon Valyria.
I suppose, yeah.
I mean, what's that Cersei line? Like, nothing's more hateful than failing to protect the ones you love. Like, what is the point of being the king if he can't protect his son from murder and if he can't avenge his son's murder?
You can drink wine all day.
You can do that.
That's the point.
You'll notice that, like, when Aegon is crying alone later, his friends are not there consoling him.
I mean, he also avoids his wife.
And Allison avoids him.
This whole episode, the Greens are just avoiding talking to each other. Otto at the very end is like, nope, I do not want to hear about what's going on in your life, Allison.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot and I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aemond notices that his coins are gone.
Yeah.
That he was playing Risk with Kristen with last night.
And it's a reminder that like he's looking at one of the secret tunnels, and this is the room where Aemond and Kristen were drinking the night that his nephew was murdered. So he must be thinking, well, this is like partly my fault. If I was here, I could have stopped them. Aemond was with the Madame Sylvie.
Madame Sylvie, everyone. Introducing Madame Sylvie.
Madame Sylvie.
Who you'll remember from episode 9.
Apparently that relationship has blossomed into something else.
You mean like since episode 9?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. It hasn't been all that long since that uncomfortable
Because she said
exchange.
how you've grown, as though like they hadn't seen each other in some time, or was that a little coy thing? Yeah,
no, you're right. I do get the sense that in episode 9, that was the first time Aemond and Sylvie had seen each other for a long time.
It's interesting, it is.
As always, the timeline, I think, does not bear over-examination.
It's the most important thing. If I don't understand exactly how many seconds passed between this episode and the previous episode, I'm going to hack everyone's IMDb accounts and give it 1 star.
Because my spreadsheet doesn't add up unless the moon cycles are correct.
Okay, go easy on the moon cycles. The moon charts are fucking important, man.
My theory is that Planetos has a 27-hour day, and that accounts for the difference in ages between the different books. Because there's actually, there was 2 moons, you see.
Well, that makes complete sense because one of them cracked open and gave birth to it. You know what? I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
I don't know whether I'm being ironic or not, and I'm terrified. Help me. Hey, this is a cool shot.
Yeah, where Aemon's like casting the coin over his one good eye.
Makes him look kind of skull-like. He's got a skull-like face, does Aemond?
I've got crazy news for you about faces.
What's that?
They're all skull-shaped.
So Otto, look how stiff-backed Otto is.
Children have been murdered in the hours preceding this moment.
Events occurred through the neglect of duties, wheretofore Kristen Cole
was stopping my daughter.
Whilst you were a horse.
Coupling. His strategy is to be reserved emotionally about everything. Because what good would getting emotional serve Otto here?
Well, maybe he might establish healthy relationships with his family.
No. I mean politically. No. You're not thinking clearly.
Alicent is weeping. Otto approaches Alicent, hesitates, and then Alicent walks away from him. I'd ask who did this to them, but I know they're on screen. We see them. We've seen over the last season, like how these screwy people got screwed.
And Alicent's just still screwing.
They're so screwed up and they're continuing to screw down to the next generation.
Let 1,000 blossoms bloom, as far as I'm concerned.
So they, well, with regards to the screwing, there is still all those sex murals on the walls.
Yeah.
We see them when Aegon's smashing up Valyria. So they don't let us forget. They remind us visually that we're not making this up. The theme of the story is all of the messy, incestuous screwing.
Oh, I was making it up.
and the
I've been making
consequences.
things up the whole time.
This is a documentary, Glidus, and we will treat it with the seriousness that it deserves. So Otto, bloodless Otto, says that, yeah, the kid's dead, but we will get political advantage from this.
This can still be a good thing. This guy is always on.
He doesn't stop.
Well, he does stop. Like, the thing that makes him stop, the thing that, like, has him turn it off is when Aegon does something so stupid, so, like, against Otto's plan.
Yeah.
That he just doesn't have any recourse. It's like, what else can we do? Your son died. This is like perfect propaganda. We couldn't have asked for a better thumbs up from the realm, and you've thrown it away, and like, what are we gonna do now?
So then we cut to Aegon's rage, and he just storms around breaking things. He pointedly asks what Kristen, the commander of the Kingsguard, was doing while the prince was being murdered, and Kristen was abed.
He was a bed. I think Ryan Condal is doing this to me on purpose.
Yeah, can we talk about the pony ride? Because we didn't talk about it much last chat, but the more I think about it...
Like the Lemon Gate mural in season 1, he threatens a Lannister with being a horse.
This is either like fan service or schizophrenia. Aegon told Tyland to give Prince Jaehaerys a pony ride, as though he were a horse. And there's this running joke in Glidus world that Tyrek Lannister is a horse.
Joke. And this has escaped my realm. This is now just real.
This is just part of the community now, is the idea that what if Tyrek Lannister was a horse? And now they were making Tyland Lannister a horse.
A pony. They haven't figured out the kinks yet. He's not a fully fledged.
Did they not say the word horse?
I think it was pony.
I think it is a possibility that the show runners were referencing the Glidus horse theory. I seriously think that is a possibility.
I give it like 2%. No, thinking about it more, it just feels so much more likely. If I get to ask Ryan Condal one question, you'll all have to forgive me because that's the most important thing right now.
There's a bunch of people in the writers' room. Some of them will be aware of the nerd community online.
Some of them may follow me on Twitter.
I believe it. I believe they were referencing the Glidus theory.
We made it. We made it into the show, gang.
We're finally real.
We ruined the show.
Yeah. Is that not the ultimate goal of any fan?
To ruin the show.
Is to be fan service sufficiently to make the show about yourself such that you ruin it. Is that not the goal?
We did it.
So Kristen was abed, and I love Kristen's just cold blank stares in this episode. Because I mean, that's what he's been required to do for the last decade.
As a Kingsguard, you make yourself a blank slate. You are a sword. That's what you are.
Allison is the same as Kristen. She also has been not allowed to show emotion very much, at least not publicly.
She is made to be a sword as well, but girl version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same. It's like sort of themes because childbirth and violence and episode 1 and Emma Aaron. You get it?
No.
You don't get it?
No. There aren't. Themes are for 8th grade book reports.
I can't believe they said that.
But Aegon is just all rage. Like, I mean, I love that, it does remind us Aegon is the child in this room.
Yeah.
I mean, his son is dead, so, like, fair enough. But, like, everyone else is a grown-up who has, learned emotional regulation. So Larys declares that they have captured Blood, one of the men who killed Jaehaerys, noted for his brutal nature. Do you think Larys knows something about cheese? Larys said that they no longer breathe our air, all the people who worked for Misaria and Otto as spies. And yet Misaria knows cheese, and cheese still breathes their air, walking around the Red Keep all the time. Did Larys not question them?
Last time we did speak about how Larys, like Littlefinger, uses chaos to elevate himself.
Larys injected a little cheese to spice up the proceedings.
Bit of spicy cheese.
So Blood was caught trying to flee the city with Jaehaerys' head in a sack.
To present to Daemon, surely.
Blood clearly expects that if he presents Jaehaerys' head, Daemon is going to pay him. He would not be doing that if Daemon had not said that it's okay for him to kill Jaehaerys.
Yeah, I think that Larys did have something to do with cheese then.
It's just like they really made a point that Larys like questioned people and killed people, and yet somehow cheese slipped through, as it so often does. does.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was cheese in here.
Otto says, I trust in the mastery of your trade, Lord Laris.
I know you're good at killing people.
All about that Guantanamo shit.
Does your castle not have a torturer?
Every good castle should. Every good Airbnb should.
Also, we get our first Iron Rod drop.
Yeah.
It's finally called Iron Rod on screen.
Jasper Wilde, the Master of Laws, is called Iron Rod due to the severity of his justice and the turgidity of his member.
The strength of his law.
Yes. He really lays down the law, doesn't he?
And ejaculates justice upon the realm.
Can we say that? And Aegon, of course, goes for the most obvious people to suspect, which is the people who are right in front of him.
Easy. Otto says that Jaehaerys was his grandson, which is incorrect.
Does Otto know something that we don't?
Ew.
I guess that would mean, yeah, no, we don't like that.
Yeah, don't think about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is weird that Otto says Jaehaerys was his grandson. I mean, I guess you can say that a great-grandson is a grandson. It's just a great one. I mean, like, I can call someone a cousin,
Yeah,
even if they're actually a second cousin thrice removed. It's still a cousin. And so a great-great-great-grandson is still a grandson. It's just a really great one.
I suppose.
I'll allow it.
I'll have to make my peace with that.
Yeah, well, if only he had that season 1 helpful diagram in the opening
But
sequence.
now
to
it's
tell
a
him.
massive embroidery.
So Otto says, this isn't a murder, it's a propaganda opportunity. Let's tell everyone that Rhaenyra murdered Jaehaerys.
Sounds great.
Otto doesn't even care who really did it.
No, he doesn't. Doesn't he say, yeah, whatever, but let's act like it was Rhaenyra anyway?
Aegon stands up for moral decency. Like, can we appreciate the fact that Aegon is the person in the room who's saying, let's not parade the corpse of a child through the city?
Well done, Aegon.
Meanwhile, some of Aegon's other children are currently living in squalor at child fighting pits where he left them. This is such, like, cold logic from Otto. I loved Jaehaerys.
So we'll not have him die in vain. Let's use his murder for political purposes. It's been hours. The sun hasn't risen yet.
But Otto, I mean, he's on that grind set. He doesn't wait. Just like with the death of Viserys.
Rise and grind, your grace.
Dying in vain. More like exploited for political
and
goal.
Here they all are living in vain.
Jaehaerys will do more for us now than 1,000 knights in battle. That's dark, man.
He knows how to sell an idea, doesn't he?
We're talking about a child's corpse.
Oh, fucking hell.
And Otto decides that Helena and Allison should be paraded about so that their grief can be a performance for the people to see.
People love that shit.
A sorrow best expressed through its most gentle souls.
You know, Alicent, the gentle soul. I mean, there is a gentle soul within Alicent. It's just been piled on over decades.
Alicent ran at Luke with a Valyrian steel blade to cut out his
yeah,
eye.
She's a gentle
She's
soul.
a gentle soul.
She is, isn't she? Meanwhile, no one asks Helena what she wants.
And she's gripping this embroidered cloth, which is...
I believe this is Jaehaerys' funeral shroud that she was stitching in the last episode before it happened. The line between future and present has been blurred in Helena's head, and she's just absent-mindedly doing things that only make sense in hindsight. Also, when she says that she's afraid of the rats in the previous episode, she looks to Jaehaerys' crib.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she's seeing it now. People think she acts weird, but she's actually acting perfectly normal for someone who is experiencing time in a non-linear fashion.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. This is as normal as it gets.
I think it's interesting how Helena never says Jaehaerys. She just says the boy and my boy. I mean, Jaehaerys is named after the old king Jaehaerys. It's an inherently political name. Whereas to Helena, it's not Jaehaerys. It's my boy.
Son.
And that makes it so much more intimate and personal.
Also, when you think about how Jaehaera has the same name as Jaehaerys and they're identical twins, the only difference is that one's a boy and one's a girl, same as Jaime and Cersei.
Yeah, that one letter difference is the, the chromosome that's different or whatever.
I think it makes sense for Helena to think of them as the boy and the girl.
Well, which would have been all the more confusing if Maelor existed in this timeline.
Yeah. Thank goodness he doesn't yet, I suppose. Oh god, are they going to make Helena give birth in this season? Oh no.
I could see them just not including Maelor, honestly.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Although it would make sense for Aegon to want to produce another heir, right?
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean,
we need to stop speculating. It's never good.
every option is bad. I keep opening a door and it's like, it's...
that room's full of bees.
So then we have the funeral procession.
Can we just take a moment to look at all this armor?
Yeah, there's a lot of great costumery going on here that I enjoy a lot.
The horse costumery? Have a look at those horses. They are fully dripped.
That horse is better dressed than I have ever been. There's also this bloke with a great staff.
Yeah.
So then Blood is in captivity of Larys.
More like Rativity, am I right?
And he
I'm not right.
Not enraptured by this situation.
Not enraptured.
I would say he's somewhat reticent to reveal any details. It's not very... Okay. So yeah, before Larys even gets to...
Yeah, he just unveils his instruments and he says, what else do you need to know?
Which is probably like what would happen 90% of the time, right? I tend to think that the Daemon did say you can kill Jaehaerys.
Yeah, I really do think that.
Yeah, but the showrunner did say that it's open for interpretation.
I'm declaring that it's closed for interpretation. I have decided that happened.
Well, you are open to make that interpretation.
No, I'm not. Oh, God.
This shot is so sad, I don't know if we can even show it. I don't know if we even want to show it.
Like, forget YouTube community guidelines or anything, but I just don't know if I want to put this on screen.
I'd like to step in and just use our own moral compass for a moment and go, maybe we don't want to put the dead child on the television.
You've all watched the episode. You saw the scene. We're not going to make you look at it again.
It is interesting, the common people, loving and knowing
We support
Helena.
you, Queen Helena. We've never seen her before in their lives.
If they were at the Dragon Pit, they did.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's been other events as well.
What a busy week for King's Landing.
Aegon kills Blood with a mace.
I'm really torn on this one because, kill him, right? But at the same time, I don't want to support murder. But this guy decapitated a child last night.
He's also noted for his brutality.
He is noted for his brutality. That's what it says. That's the opening paragraph in his Wikia page.
Remember in season 1 when Daemon took all of his gold cloaks out to butcher random common people in the streets?
Yeah.
He is a notably brutal member of that organization. That's where the bar is, and he is above that bar for brutality. And I guess this mace to the head is probably one of the less painful ways to die,
Aegon,
I guess.
The hand of justice.
Yeah.
Vengeful strike of morality coming from King Aegon the Dragoncock.
Almost as just as the Iron Rod himself.
I really love Larys coming into the council and saying, we found a gold cloak. He's noted for his brutality. He says it in such like this guy's a bad egg. Well, he's Larys. He's the Lord Confessor. He is Larys Ratfoot.
Yeah, like I mean that's one of the great questions throughout the story is like what are the standards here? Like what rules are we operating by? Because it is this sort of complicated thing where it's a world that's explicitly founded on violence. The question is of when violence is and is not okay.
If Howland Reed jumps on Arthur Dane's back while he's facing the other way, that's a dishonorable killing.
Yeah, and the question of, it's like Tywin's thing. Like, is it not more honorable to kill a dozen men at dinner than to kill thousands on the battlefield? And it's like when...
And that's exactly what Kristen sort of poses to Arik in this episode. Hey, if you go kill Rhaenyra, we won't have to go to war. You'll be saving thousands and thousands of lives just by killing one spider bitch.
and like, of course there are nuances to it, but there is also truth to it. I mean, one of the asterisks on that statement is that, like, yes, killing Rhaenyra could end the war, but only if you also kill her son Jace and her son Joffrey and her son Aegon the Younger and her son Viserys the Younger.
And her husband Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince, and his daughters probably, Baela and Rhaenyra.
Yep. And the more people you
probably
execute...
have to kill Corlys and Rhaenys as well.
Then all their most loyal friends and retainers. Yeah, it's it gets messy.
I sort of love how Eric has the the wherewithal to fall on his sword for his sins. Like, he's committed one sin
Well, yeah, I thought that was such an interesting choice, Eric killing himself. Because, what sin did he commit?
He killed his brother. He's a kinslayer. That's the greatest sin.
But only because Eric attacked him.
He's a kinslayer. He killed his brother.
I think it's perfect because it shows how self-destructive the rules of ethics in this world are. Like, Eric tried, maybe more than anyone else in this story, to do the right and moral thing, even at great cost to himself. He was totally self-sacrificing, and he put everyone else first, and by logically following like the rules of ethics as best he could, he ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what good are these moral rules if they lead to the suicide of one of the more moral men in the story?
Oh god, now you're making me think that Brienne's oh no.
There is this interesting moment where they get stuck under a bridge. And for a moment, I thought the common folk were going to swarm them or something.
I mean, they sort of do get swarmed. Helena gets Spider-Man. The people are like, oh my god, we love you so much. I want to touch you. Which is weird. You don't have to do that. You can adore people from afar. Although, if she is supposed to be seen as like a god, then, whatever. Touch God. I don't care.
Touch God, I don't care. Gladys 2024. I think that one of the cool things about this scene is that it turns out that adoration is as horrifying as hatred. At least for Helena. Like, Aegon loved this kind of adoration.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a different thing because,
you get the impression that he would enjoy hatred as much as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Aegon does just want attention. But I mean, I guess, when Aegon was receiving adoration in episode 9, he was holding a sword and he was surrounded by guards. There's actually some, like, Allison actually holds Helena for the first time in the story, I think.
Successfully for the first time.
Yeah, which I don't think is Helena actually liking it any more than usual. She just is too overwhelmed to push Allison back.
Yeah, she can't respond.
So Helena is like, borderline having a panic attack, which I'm sure is exactly what she needs after the murder of her young child in front of her. Hope it was worth it, Otto.
She also walked in on her mum.
Yeah. And, she just became queen like a week ago.
Because her dad died. And she knew all of that was coming, but she didn't exactly know.
And the crowd is
my God.
The crowd is shouting all this stuff like, Rhaenyra is a monster. Rhaenyra is evil. And I love that, that is like ostensibly support for Helena. Yeah. I mean, that's positive to Helena, but Helena just receives that as the negative horror that it is. Because, I think what Helena's realizing is that, like, whether you support Aegon or Rhaenyra, that still feeds the violence that killed her son.
You have chosen sides. You have chosen war.
And that taking sides...
You've given in to HBO's marketing. That's what the small folk of King's Landing have done here.
You can see they've been all over Max's TikTok account. That guy's liked every one of David Zaslav's tweets, and that's why he's shouting like that.
I love how in the next scene, Rhaenyra insists that Helena is innocent and a beautiful, untouchable soul who should never have any ills done upon her, which is correct.
Rhaenyra is the first person to actually say, hey everyone, Helena is beautiful and precious and leave her alone because she's great and she doesn't deserve this. She says what we all were thinking.
And, like, not even Allison has said that.
I think that Rhaenyra understands children because here's the thing, Allison never got to be a child.
Yeah, Rhaenyra was a child.
Rhaenyra was behaving childishly well into her adulthood, whereas Alicent was behaving like an adult from a very tender age. And so I think that's part of why Allison cannot understand her children, because she never was a child, whereas Rhaenyra gets that a bit more. Yeah, all Rhaenyra and Allison know is how they were raised, respectively, and they passed that on to their children, and that's what this whole show is. So Rhaenyra's just woken up, and she's looked at Twitter, and she's seen that millions of people are lambasting her for the murder of a child she's never met. That's a pretty stressful thing to read over your morning coffee, isn't it, Rhaenyra?
Yeah.
So if they all think I'm a murderer, let's tell them that I'm not. That'll fix it. Contrary to reports, I am in fact not a child murderer. Do you think that would be a convincing Raven scroll to send?
There's a community note under Aegon's tweet.
I do like, though, what Rhaenyra says. We should double our guard both here on Dragonstone and in Driftmark. It makes no sense that there weren't more guards. We all need more guards. We all need more security.
But again, Allison was probably lulled into a sense of, Laris has got everything under wraps. I trust Laris for some reason.
This guy. There's a man you can rely on. Real salt of the earth. Jace is looking like a Targaryen prince, isn't he?
Yeah, he sort of is.
I love how Bartimus Celtigar's like almost like, well, time to throw in the towel. They've falsely accused you of murder. I say we give up. Alfred Broom is saying that Rhaenyra might have killed Jaehaerys. Is that what Alfred Broom is saying?
Yeah, he is saying, oh, well, I'm not saying that you did it, but if you did do it...
I get it. I'm not saying you murdered the child, but if you did, I'm with you, girl. In fact, I think we should murder children.
Yeah.
Is that what
They've
he's
got
saying?
another one, right?
And Rhaenyra reacts to that with just utter disbelief, which is fantastic. Daemon is just smiling.
A thing I did has made a ruckus.
He. They're talking about me.
They don't know it, but I did this.
Because I was wearing my hoodie, so they could not possibly guess it was me.
Did you send assassins to murder children in their bed? That's as straight as it gets.
Like, remember their like conversation before they got married when they were like, fire calls to fire, and if fear was preferable to the need to rule, and if we gave a gift.
Did you send
to
assassins to murder children in their beds?
I love the directness. She's getting to the point, which is great.
Matt Smith's acting in this scene, it's honestly cruel how funny this is.
Oh, yeah. I was clear in my instructions. Kill Aemond.
I can't be responsible for a mistake.
Is he talking about Blood and Cheese mistakenly killing Jaehaerys, or is he talking about Daemon mistakenly saying, get a son for a son?
That draws into question, is Viserys responsible for his mistakes? Because Viserys comes up a lot in this scene. As he tries to push responsibility away from himself all throughout his life, he's also trying to absolve himself of this action. He only wants to accept that he did things that make him look cool, and this does not make him look cool.
His orders were ambiguous, but he must have known that they could have killed someone other than...
I think he was being intentionally ambiguous. Daemon says, you gotta find Aemond, but I don't think you can beat him in a fight. And then Cheese says, what if we just so happen to not be able to find him and not get killed by him?
What if we targeted someone who does not require us to fight one of the nastiest anime villains in Westeros?
And then Daemon looks up and he gives him that gremlin-y little look.
Yeah.
And then he says a son for a son. So yeah, go just kill whoever.
Daemon knew what he was doing. He wouldn't be so evasive and guilty right now if he hadn't said a son for a son,
true.
knowing that they would then potentially kill Jaehaerys. And Rhaenyra is appropriately outraged because this is having consequences.
He's such a child.
I've said this like 3 times before, but it's like when the dog eats the cake that it's not meant to, and then you go to the dog and you say, Fido, did you eat my pavlova? And then Fido avoids eye contact. Like, Matt Smith does that constantly. And especially now when Rhaenyra is like, I know you're lying to me. Stop lying to me. And Daemon says, nuh-uh.
No, I'm not lying. I'm technically saying true things. It's like when your dog eats your cake and then flies away on its dragon to go conquer the Riverlands.
And in this exact moment, Rhaenyra is going like, why did I marry this person?
Why did I pretend to kill Laenor? Laenor wouldn't have done this.
So Rhaenyra finally says, I cannot trust you. It would be nice to believe that Daemon is on your side.
Oh yeah, he's a very powerful asset.
Like, it would be so great to have a Daemon who you could trust. And that's why Rhaenyra wanted to believe it.
Daemon thinks that the best path forward for the dynasty, for the realm, is for him to be in charge. Well, not that he really cares about the realm. It's about the dynasty. It's about Valyria. It's about him. He thinks the best thing is for him to be in charge. He thinks that he can't be in charge without Rhaenyra.
But with her only as a...
Yeah, as a puppet. As a mouthpiece.
I think there's something to the idea that Daemon knows on some level that he would not be a good king and also would not enjoy being king. Like in all the interviews, they sort of talked about, Daemon would just be bored if he had to sit on a council.
Yeah, like he's constantly giving up positions of power.
The position that he's in now, it's never going to get better than this for Daemon, which is like he's so unhappy and dissatisfied. And he always will be, because being the king consort is probably as much power as he won't enjoy any more power than that.
It reminds me of Robert and how Robert fantasized about being the sellsword king.
Yeah.
Running off and just fighting his days out and drinking and whoring and killing people and being killed. That's what Daemon needs.
That's the best Daemon can hope for. And that's why he was on the Stepstones all those years.
The really funny thing is that that's what Laenor's off doing.
Daemon should have faked his own death.
Yeah. Wow. He gave the life he actually wanted to Rhaenyra's other husband. Although he did spend 10 years avoiding King's Landing, avoiding responsibility with his wife, with, his Valyrian wife with his Valyrian children.
Yeah.
Doing cool dragon shows and living it up in Pentos.
That's why he's so mad right now. He's just unable to be happy. Rhaenyra understands that that's what's going on here, and Daemon reacts so angrily because Rhaenyra is correct on some level.
She pressed the button.
And oh my god.
He goes to grab her and then stops.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Several times he reaches for her neck.
It's like, it's an impulse within him that he has to fight.
His default is to choke his wife.
It's the only thing that he thinks is going to get what he wants out of this.
And it never does.
No, of course not.
Because
choking your wife actually won't accomplish anything. It's a bad idea all of the time.
Do you think she's just going to be done with him forever now?
It does feel like that. It feels like this is an irreconcilable. It feels like this is not going to be repaired.
Oh, and even this is so chilling. When Daemon puts his hands on Rhaenyra's face in a way that's affectionate, but also inches from her throat.
Yeah, it's affectionate and possessive.
It's horrifying.
He refers to it as Viserys' throne, but Rhaenyra insists it's my throne that's been stolen. It's not about Viserys anymore.
Yeah, it's like, does Daemon really love Rhaenyra, or does he love Viserys through Rhaenyra?
Yeah, the same way that did Viserys really love Rhaenyra, or did he love Aemma through Rhaenyra?
Yep.
Yikes. Did he love Allison, or was he looking for a facsimile of his wife who he murdered?
Well, he did call Allison to Aemma that one time.
Yep.
They didn't love her. They loved what she represented to them. What they projected onto her. That was what they loved. I mean, it was about the Targaryenism with them, right?
Targaryenism.
Yeah, Emma Darcy uses that term, and I love it. It's the idea that, Daemon worships at this altar of Valyrian supremacy and Targaryen supremacy, and he sees Rhaenyra as a vessel of that.
Yeah, she's his access to that.
The same fiery blood that connects him to Viserys is in her.
Yeah, what does Daemon love about Rhaenyra other than that she's a Targaryen?
What does Rhaenyra love about Daemon? That he's passionate and sexy, and
he's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy, and he's got a chin the size of the Dragonmont.
With the depth of the ocean.
So yeah, I just feel like
runes behind him there. That's cool.
Valyrian runes.
Yeah.
I'm sure David J. Peterson has a translation of what they say.
I'll have to look into that.
Daemon took Rhaenyra's words when she said, "I want Aemond Targaryen." Daemon took that and twisted that and said, "I'm gonna do some murders to get the war that I want, to indulge the darkness you keep sheathed within you like a blade."
It's poetry. It's Shakespeare right there. It's Suzanne Vega lyrics.
It's poetic. I think it's funny though, because I don't think Daemon keeps it sheathed at all.
Well, he puts the hoodie on.
Yeah, that's his sheath. Daemon insists that he's fighting for Rhaenyra.
I'm going to Harrenhal, and that's going to be a really big deal. Everyone keeps talking about it, so it has to be a big deal.
So Rhaenyra says that Daemon clings to what he lost, being the heir to the throne. And Daemon goes pretty hard here, saying that Viserys was a coward who knew Daemon was stronger and was afraid to be seen in Daemon's shadow. The fact that Daemon is, potentially a more appealing king than Viserys is a serious political threat, and it's not crazy for Viserys to worry about that and push away Daemon.
Yeah, but nobody liked Daemon. Still nobody likes Daemon.
Blood did. Some of the Gold Cloaks did.
Yeah, well, Daemon can't throw orgies for every lord in what... Maybe he could.
Viserys didn't make Rhaenyra heir because of her wisdom or her virtue.
Her virtue.
Daemon, you took Rhaenyra to a sex club when she was young and drunk, and you're now criticizing her virtue.
Yeah, and I think Rhaenyra's reaction there is so understandable. She just throws up her hands like, I can't... This is ridiculous. How can I deal with this?
How does Daemon Targaryen talk about virtue to me with a straight face? And so Daemon says that Viserys only made Rhaenyra heir because he knew that Rhaenyra's legacy would not outshine his own. I think that Viserys wanted Rhaenyra to be great.
I do too. I think that I think this is projecty here.
I don't think even Daemon believes this. I think he's just trying to hurt Rhaenyra at this point. Like, I think that Daemon just doesn't want to admit it to himself, but he knows that Viserys really did love Rhaenyra and trust Rhaenyra in a way that...
He never trusted Daemon.
Daemon's making it so, like, abstract here, but Rhaenyra once again cuts the shit and just sort of says, hey, Daemon, no, it's not about legacy. It's not about, like, all that stuff. No, it was just the fact that he can't trust you because you never do what you say you're going to do, and you always do some BS, and you make situations worse, and you do fights and sex clubs and murders for no reason. It is your behavior that has caused these events.
Your name is literally Demon. How did you not see this coming?
Daemon chillingly says that that Rhaenyra will suffer the same fate as Viserys.
You're gonna become a decrepit old man because you don't want to kill babies.
Yeah. Oh no, you're gonna live to a ripe old age. If Daemon thinks he's so great, what has he got to show for it? And so Rhaenyra says you're pathetic.
Oh, it's brilliant! What a great way to end the scene.
Finally.
What did Allison say to Otto in episode 9? Reluctance to murder is not a weakness.
Yeah. He is a man-child and he is pathetic. And Rhaenyra finally admits that to herself. Yeah. This marriage might be... my third marriage might be over now.
God, why do women keep doing this to me? Oh, God, this was a terrible idea. Marry my uncle? What was I thinking? I think, yeah, she's realizing how he did that. What he did to make her endeared to him.
Yeah, he groomed her for years when she was a child. Yeah, he's a monster. But hey, as George Martin wrote, Daemon was...
equal parts dark and light.
Good and bad in equal measure, George said.
Are we gonna see some of the good at some point, George?
George wrote that in like 2005 or some shit.
Yeah.
I think Daemon's a different beast now, and I think Daemon is... he's not a good guy. And again, of course, they've got the fire burning in the background, as they always do with angry Daemon.
Oh, he's seething. I've never seen someone seethe that hard.
There are some incredible seethers on this show. And look at Rhaenyra panting. Like she's almost like having like a panic attack or something.
Doesn't she sort of jump when the door slams? Yeah. Oh my God.
Look at that flinch. This is the most dangerous time of their relationship. And so she is rightly terrified of what he might do. And I think it's correct that she wants to direct his rage towards the enemy.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra needs Daemon as far away from here as possible. So yeah, I thought this was an incredible scene.
I loved it.
It builds on everything in the story so far.
Yeah.
And this is just heartbreaking as well. Daemon walks right past his daughter Baela. Baela was the one that he likes.
Yeah, because she has a dragon. It's almost like Baela's asking, oh, is that my father?
Yeah.
Is that actually my dad?
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget. Yeah.
I think she's maybe disturbed because she's recognizing that Daemon is looking angrier than usual.
Wow.
But like...
yeah, she has that keen perception. She can notice that there's an extra wrinkle in his forehead. We're also being introduced to Rhaenyra's chambers here in advance of the thing happening later. So that's fun.
Now she's being sent out to watch King's Landing on her teensy tiny dragon Moondancer.
We need you to keep an eye out for Vhagar. You know Vhagar, the thing that just ate my son.
Rhaenyra is telling Baela, hey, go out and sit next to the ICBM nuclear arsenal storage unit that the Greens have. And, you know, take a real close look.
But don't get too close or it'll get you.
It's horrifying. It's like sending a little butterfly next to Vhagar's
We're sending Baela on her tricycle to go watch Aemond and his monster truck. He's got a Panzer.
I don't know, maybe Rhaenyra has some reason to be really confident that Baela's going to ace this, but to me it seems a bit like maybe not a great idea.
We can afford no further mistakes. That's great pressure to be putting on her.
And look at Baela. Baela's looking real uncertain.
Yeah.
And Baela asks about Daemon. And Rhaenyra says he's just going to do Daemon things.
Yeah, Daemon, we're going to let Daemon go for a little bit. He went out to get cigarettes.
Oh, look, it's the noodle.
Yeah, let go of everything and just watch Caraxes go. Oh my God.
Fun little flippity, slithery
little
noodle man. That little flapper, that dapper flapper.
Sure is.
Love him. Back to King's Landing.
This is a heartbreaking little scene, isn't it?
Yeah. He saw her need.
Yeah, that's it.
He saw that his wife needs him.
And that's what makes him leave.
And it's not even It's not even a face of like, I don't care about you. It's a face of, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I this is uncomfortable. I'm going to leave.
It's easier for me to not try and help you.
And yeah, Fia Saban is absolutely killing it. Like, there's almost hope in her eyes for a minute. Like,
and then she's just lost.
It's so sad.
And they're disassembling Jaehaerys' bed.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, watching Kristen Cole suffer the consequences of what he did.
Yeah, because like, we never saw Kristen suffering consequences for when he murdered Joffrey Lonmouth. We never saw Kristen suffering consequences when he murdered Lyman Beesbury.
We get that now. We get to see what it's like when Kristen actually thinks about what he's done.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
We see that Kristen comes to an emotional fork in the road. He's like, something bad happened. I have choices. What am I going to do? And he's like, I could take responsibility. I could like change my behavior. But what if I instead blamed someone else?
Well, so there's a lot going on here. Kristen feels such immense guilt. And what he does is he projects that guilt onto Arik. He makes Arik feel guilty for what happened, and he tries to make Arik absolve for Arik's sins, which of course Arik didn't do anything wrong. Arik's fine, and he goes off to his death because Kristen is mad and he's guilty and he's shameful. And he says to Allison later, there is no absolution for my sins. That's what he's doing here. He's observing the consequences of his sins. In his head, he's decided, I cannot make up for this. So his only reaction is to make it someone else's problem.
But the other thing, like, I think that part of why Kristen is like, there's no possible way I can achieve absolution, so just give up on being moral.
This inevitable thing, it's inevitable.
But how that all started? It was through loving coitus between Kristen and Rhaenyra, who were both into it and having a good time. So isn't it tragic that because of the laws of the society that told him that is wrong and evil and he has to feel guilty forever, it's his society that created that guilt that he feels unable to process, that has given him ethical indigestion.
It's Eric Cargill who did everything correctly and then had to kill himself.
Yeah, exactly. We are seeing in real time how this moral system destroys people. Kristen did not need to become this. If he lived in a saner society
where it's okay if you have sex with the princess,
which again, she was a drunk teenager,
and also had authority over him.
Yeah, none of that was fine, but the moral system made it more destructive to Kristen than it needed to be because of this idea of ultimate chastity of the princess and this idea of ultimate chastity of the king's guard. Turns out that ultimate vows of chastity sometimes a bad thing. Look it up. It's art. I like it.
It is art, and I feel disgusting because I actually like this guy for a moment because his little doe eyes.
Yeah, his doe eyes. Look at his big brown eyes,
and his stupid mustache.
He wouldn't hurt a fly. I mean, look at how he sheepishly steps out of the way here. Like, Kristen is such a physically intimidating presence. I mean, that's his job, is to be a physically intimidating presence. But the way that he has to sheepishly sidestep to get out of the way here, and he he looks away. He can't even look at this servant in the face.
Well, that servant is holding Jaehaerys' mattress that is stained in the kid's blood from where he was decapitated from when Kristen wasn't on watch because he was busy having sex with the queen. So yeah, you would look away. We see Rhaenyra playing with her young children, which is a bit heartbreaking. Yeah. She's definitely thinking about Helena and her children right now. Yeah. How could she not be?
It definitely connects the dots, and we're like, this is part of why Rhaenyra has so much sympathy for Helena. And also it's part of Rhaenyra's vulnerability. I mean, it's like, if Jaehaerys can be killed, what if these little kids were killed? How would Rhaenyra feel then?
They are also the product of her connection with Daemon, who just left. There's a lot going on here in just this single shot of two children playing. There's also a little horsey in the shot. This is that shot there of just particles floating through the air suspended in the light. They didn't have to put that in.
Yeah,
I love it.
What in the short film Sundance is this? They're doing.
What in the Cannes Film Festival is this?
They're doing art in My Dragon Show. Is this allowed on HBO Max?
This is crazy.
Peacock?
So In addition to this wonderful direction and this connective tissue of finding the humanity in a history book, there's also tits and dragons in this episode. There's an epic sword fight.
Yeah,
This is a fantastic fucking episode.
we will, but like that was one of the best sword fights in Game of Thrones.
I think it was, yeah.
Like,
I mean, what can compare to it?
I don't know of a sword fight that is better than that. Like, I mean, it was like the Jaime Euron fight, but
Good.
not shit.
Yeah, actually good.
Because that just felt so just exhausting, unrealistic, gratuitous, emotionless.
It was horribly edited.
It was a slog. It was an exhausting,
No
shitty
one wanted
slog.
to be there. I didn't want to be there. The acters didn't want to be there.
Yeah, I'm
the
like,
script
just
didn't want to
like,
be there.
take your check and go. You
The
don't
water
even need...
in the background didn't want to be there.
And then it cuts to this water, which I thought was piss for a moment.
Yeah?
But no, it's...
I thought we were cutting to Aegon taking a slash.
I thought it might have been, and I'm sure other people in the Red Keep take slashes as well on occasion. I bet even Otto takes a leak from time to time.
We've seen Otto take leaks. That's what he's like. All those scenes where he's like hesitantly standing at doorways. He's having a piss. There's a puddle of urine flowing underneath Viserys' bedchamber door. Everyone knows it.
He's a busy man. He's got letters to write.
Your Grace, would you mind if I just... all of these servants were, of course, selected by Larys. They are not the people that Allison knows.
What happened to Talia, Glidus?
She no longer breathes our air.
Oh my god. What happened to little John, the blonde kid who knew about
No,
Viserys?
not little John.
He no longer breathes our
Larys
air.
removed his trachea.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
And here we are
Larys.
freaking out about just one decapitated blonde kid. Like, my God, Larys has been up to far worse the whole time. I mean, I'm making a joke and being glib about the death of Jaehaerys, which is terrible of me, but it's true. Larys is up to much worse stuff every day, and no one in the castle is freaking out about it.
Otto was more outraged by the murder of 100 innocent men than he was by the murder of his young great-grandson. And you know what that is? That's actual, like, moral fiber. Like, that's actually...
I'm going to argue with you there. He was upset about that because it looked bad politically.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't care about those rat catchers' children. He's still good old Otto Hightower.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it, but
Will we?
we'll see what happens. So Allison tries to reach out to Kristen, if only for a rub-a-dub in the tub, but he seems to reject her and looks real isolated, which is so interesting. Like in this moment, they fail to look after each other emotionally.
Yeah.
In season 1, he said to Allison that he would like to be executed.
Please execute me now.
He's got a tenuous grasp on life at this point, I think.
You'll also recall that Kristen was going to stab himself with his sword
Yeah.
after doing a great misdeed, and in this episode, Eric does exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fucking Freudian death drive, if we want to
Oh yeah?
put on our armchair psychologist
yeah.
pants. It's the will to death. So Allison awkwardly undresses herself because
Yeah,
she
she-
doesn't trust anyone.
She feels it's like she doesn't exactly know how to do it.
I like how sort of body focused this is as well, like, because it's always been about her body. It's always been about her body being used to produce children as a dutiful wife. So yeah, Allison holds herself underwater, which I feel like is also a kind of a nice suicidal death drive type feeling, you know?
Yeah, like maybe in an attempt to cleanse, this is all she has. None of the freeze frames here look good because of light refraction.
This is the Glidus Refraction Corner. Top 10 refraction facts, or as I like to call them, refactions.
I don't have 10 for you right now, I'm sorry.
I'd settle for 8. She's so trapped. She can't leave this castle.
Yeah.
She hasn't left this... When was the last time she left this castle? The hunt?
Oh my god. No, that they did the funeral just earlier this
Oh,
episode.
great. Oh, the funeral. What a great
Oh no,
outing.
she was at the dragon
All
pit.
the family.
She was at the dragon pit when Mealy's killed all those people.
Oh, fantastic. What a great series of trips she's had.
She went to Driftmark for Lena's funeral,
It's all
where she also
funerals.
tried to kill Luke Valari. Yeah, this girl just needs like a road trip to Old Town, hey?
She's had a shockingly bad life. Which, again, you know, she has people who make baths for her and look after her
Yeah.
every material need. She also has had a shockingly bad life.
I mean, money obviously unlocks base level security comforts, right? But beyond that, does it actually make people happy, fulfilled, successful within? Does it make them feel loved? Does it fill the holes within their souls? You got to pay the toll to fill the hole in your soul.
We're hitting the classics today. I am starting to think that money does not buy happiness.
Huh. I love the cafeteria here. I really love that Aric's white cloak is soiled because he was doing his fucking job.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
So he was out at the funeral procession when the wagon got stuck in the mud, and Kristen's like, "Your white cloak is soiled, sir," when he's been fucking the queen.
Yeah, that's the paradox of the white cloak, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets dirty when you do your job. Righteousness isn't clean.
Purity is not something you have when you're in the real world getting things done. If you're making decisions, you're not pure.
Viserys, he wanted to be right, he wanted to be kind, he wanted to be good, and he wanted to not make decisions. He wanted to get his hands out of the real world.
Yeah.
Aric's been in the real world, and his cloak is dirty, and that's a problem for Kristen because it represents something he really doesn't like.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about Viserys. Viserys refused to make decisions for fear of getting dirty emotionally.
Yeah.
Didn't want anyone pissed off at him. He couldn't handle that.
So all I'm saying is that this shot of a dirty cloth is the greatest piece of art I've ever encountered. The white cloak is a symbol of our purity, our fidelity.
Hilarious. Kind of lecturing himself at the same time, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's still sending Aric as the sacrificial lamb for his sins.
Like, Kristen needs someone to be saying this to him, but no one can, because he stumbled his way into being the most powerful knight in the kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, the way he achieved this vaunted position was by murdering Joffrey, confessing to Allison that he had sex with Rhaenyra, none of which had anything to do with him doing his job well or being competent. I think. Do you think on some level Kristen is doing this to Aric because Kristen needs a scapegoat? Like, I don't know if Kristen has that many brain cells.
Yeah, has he thought this through all that much?
And if Kristen can just send Aric away, he can say, or he can imply that it was all Aric's fault. Maybe that's part of what's going on here. Because Kristen is here saying, like, where were you when Jaehaerys was murdered?
Yeah.
Which is such an absurd thing for Kristen to be saying to Aric when he was guarding the king. Aric gets shouted at for Eric's treachery, just like Eric gets shouted at for Aric's treachery, which shows us that Eric and Aric, no matter what you do, you're boned. I mean, I think that's what's so genius about Aric and Eric, is that, like, they're the trolley problem. It's like, in this ethical quandary, which path do you take, A or B? Eric and Aric are like, well, we will take both. We'll dual track drift, so we'll definitely get the correct answer.
Yeah.
You know what? They're both wrong answers.
Yeah.
Trolley derailed. Dick's on you. There is no correct answer in this moral quandary. All three doors have a goat behind them. It just illustrates that there is no right answer for Eric and Aric. The problem was the system itself.
Turns out the cat was dead when we put it in the box. I think that is another reason why Eric killed himself at the end of the duel. We're two bodies of one soul. He dies, I die. It's beautiful. It's tragic. It's disgusting, and I love it.
One soul in two bodies. We were one soul in two bodies. So their soul has been ripped in half.
Oh, no.
This is just the episode of people just saying the truth to each other. Aric says, "You're mad. What you're saying
Kristen
is bonkers. You're not making sense, Kristen." And like, that's what this whole episode is. It's taken 12 episodes, but now they are finally saying what they think of each other, and
great.
I love it.
This fucking look from Kristen is psychotic. I love it.
And also, like, this is Kristen getting revenge on Rhaenyra. I think part of him feels like if he could just murder that woman and then his honor would be restored. Like, this is the mentality of some of the people in this world.
Yeah.
That the murder of others can bring absolution to the self.
That's what the concept of revenge is. Exacting vengeance on others to absolve yourself, to end the suffering for yourself.
An eye for an eye, a son for a son.
It doesn't work like that. Inflicting suffering does not end your suffering.
What if they switched places? What if Arik said, I will now pretend to be you full time. You will go back to King's Landing.
What would the point of that be?
All right. Arik will go to Dragonstone and say, hey, Eric, we both need to be Eric from now on.
This moment here where Arik walks off and Kristen's still... Oh my God.
How does Favre and Frankel do that?
His eyes just stop working.
That's chilling
It's
stuff.
the most psychotic thing anyone's done on this show. Where Daemon beat his wife's head in with a rock.
I think Kristen has genuinely, like, cognitively snapped.
He's snapped. He's done. This guy is cooked. Take him out.
And Allison's about to get in bed with him.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's Baela Targaryen.
We're having a second scene with the Baela? Oh my God. They're both Targaryen coded. What does coded even mean anymore? They're both Targaryens. They're wearing red and black is what I'm getting at.
Well, I think they're both sort of protesting too much about their Targaryenism, honestly. Yeah. It's a cute crossbow. It's so little.
Crossbow.
Look how tiny it is. I guess
you'd dainty crossbow.
I mean, I guess you'd want it to be if you're like I'm assuming we're going to get to see Baela fire her crossbow from Dragonback, which will probably be the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It potentially, yes.
So Baela says sometimes she thinks she hates Daemon.
Yeah, sometimes. Wow.
I think she could maybe hate him all the time. Would be
Baela
pretty justified.
That's like the fourth most positive opinion anyone's expressed about Daemon ever.
Jace says it's hard with fathers, which sounds like a thesis statement for the whole series.
Jace has had 3 fathers.
Yeah. Yeah. Harwin, Daemon, and what?
Laenor.
I love Jace's sort of amusement that Laenor taught catching fish and singing sailors' shanties and eating cake.
You know, the guy who was supposed to be our actual dad. You know, he taught us some songs and he liked cake.
These are my 3 dad facts.
I think he drank a lot. I can't remember.
I think he had white hair.
What was his friend's name? Kim?
Oh, at least we learned that canonically Laenor and Rhaenyra shared their love of cake.
Yeah, but not goose.
Not goose. It's too slimy.
The crazy thing there is that Laenor was a dragon rider. He was a warrior.
Yeah, true. Why wasn't it he taught me how to ride dragons good?
Yeah. Well, I guess like by the time Laenor disappeared, Jace was still attending dragon school. I like how Baela cuts the shit and just asks Jace about Harwin. No one else has done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that Jace doesn't react to that negatively. Maybe this is something they've talked about before to some extent.
Or maybe he just trusts her and he feels comfortable talking about the truth with her.
But Baela said, I hate Daemon some of the time. Jace says, Harwin loved us, I think. That the tragedy is that none of these kids know whether their parents love them or if they love them.
Ask Rhaenyra about Viserys, my God.
Yeah.
Ask Allison about Otto.
So much of the show is a failure to love. It's a failure of the parents to adequately love their children. But Baela says, of course Harwin loved Jace, which is like, how do you know that?
Because she loves him. Don't you see?
Because he's got cute freckles, so of course he's got to be loved.
And a sexy new hairdo.
Do you think they're keen on each other? You think Baela and Jace, you think they might be...
From the shots in the previous season, Rhaena and Luke looked more keen on each other. But they seem, you know, not uncomfortable with each other.
Do you think Jace is thinking, man, Sarah Snow was so hot?
Man, Cregan Stark was so hot. A secret marriage between a Stark and a Targaryen.
No, surely not. Surely not. I think Jace left a few bastards up there.
No, a few.
Triplets.
How long was he there?
Triplets.
It is awkward that they have, like, one of Jace's dads is Baela's dad. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. People need to talk about how weird that is more.
So, yeah, in theory, they are
they're cousins because Lena and Laenor were siblings.
But in reality,
that's not true. They're just
second cousins.
Once removed because Rhaenyra is a generation lower than Daemon, but they're also step siblings.
It's complicated, and they're trying to work through it together, which does mean they're doing a better job than almost all of the adults in this story. They are trying, they are talking about their feelings.
Jace says, I miss Luke, and Baela's like, yep.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It's some
It's sexy
dancers.
time.
And Aemond has a relationship with this woman, Madame Sylvie, who plays a mother-like role.
There's a lot going on here.
What an incredible shot.
Yeah, my God. You were talking about Allison's candle budget. My God.
Yeah. So Aemond feels guilty that Jaehaerys died instead of Aemond because Aemond knows that Daemon was trying to kill Aemond.
It's so annoying how much these two characters have to do with each other, and they have such similar names. It's
If you asked me before this show started, I would have told you they're going to change the names.
We've got a couple of Jaehaeryses and Viserys and Aegons flying around. People with the same name.
Yeah, it's Rhaenyra, Aemond, Daemon.
Rhaenyra, Rhaenys.
Baela, Rhaenys. Like, are you kidding? Are you joking?
Thank God there's a Luke.
So, yeah, really interesting that they're putting this guilt on Aemon's shoulders.
He feels guilty for Luke's death, and he feels guilty for Jaehaerys' death.
Yeah, as if he needed more to feel guilty about. But, I mean, another angle is that the death of Jaehaerys puts Aemond one step closer to the throne.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that be funny if the Greens were put in a position where Aegon had to choose between his daughter and his brother exactly how Viserys was, and then there's Larys in his ear saying, "Oh, you don't want to look like Viserys, do you?" And Otto's not there to caution him, and Aegon has to make a weird choice. How fun is that gonna be?
That would be very funny. And then Aemond says, "I'm so stoked that Daemon sent assassins after me. This is the best thing that's ever happened."
He tried to kill me. Oh my God,
me? Daemon was thinking about me. Maybe he's got a poster of me on his wall, just like I do. Look at him; he's got a smile on. He seeks to murder me in my bed. Oh, he's afraid of.
He's afraid of.
He is lying naked, cradled in the arms of this woman.
Yeah, saying
he's afraid. I'm so scary.
The rogue prince is afraid of me. I'm a big, strong guy.
The boy is grown into a man.
They killed the boy and let the man be born. Hey,
she's so exhausted by all this listening that she's like, "Can we please just have sex and stop talking?" And he's just
no, play with my hair. He's so spindly.
I do regret that business with Luke. That's classic Greens talk, isn't it?
He learned that one from Otto.
Transaction that occurred in which he paid his blood for my dragon's sustenance.
Murders have been done. They bullied me because I was different, because I was the one that didn't have a dragon. Well, I have a fucking dragon now.
And Sylvie here's going like, Jesus fucking Christ.
These
like, you're all princes. You all have everything.
Yeah. And she says that. She says, "Hey, when all this stuff goes down, it's our problem. You make it our problem."
I really like that they're ratcheting this up. It gives me faith that they're going to actually address Melis and Rhaenys killing hundreds of people, which they do mention this episode. Do you think Aemond will remember what Sylvie said, and next time he's flying his dragon around, he'll try not to squash so many common folk?
I sort of would love it if Aemond did incidentally become a champion of the small folk.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Because Aemond is trying so hard to be a monster like his idol Daemon. Wouldn't it be great if he actually was taking a moral stand on something after everything, Hugh the Hammer and his wife have a sick daughter, and they're doing their best to get by.
She's ill, not like really, not fully sick.
That's rude.
She's not. Oh, she might be cool. I don't
know. We'll find out just how sick she is.
Yeah,
whether fully or only partially. How would you rate that soup on an S to F scale?
Well, we don't know what's in it specifically. I don't know if
it's all coriander.
Does the water look that hot?
No, it doesn't look very appetizing to me. I like how Hugh says to his wife, "Oh, you're a good person. You wouldn't let anyone go hungry. You wouldn't be selfish." And then his wife's like, "I might.
Yeah.
If things get worse, I might." Which is like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, remember when, Daemon says everyone's capable of depravity?
Yeah.
Maybe even good ordinary people can be pushed to extremes.
Few housewives have been made with the patience for not giving people their money if they suddenly become rich. Soups have been hoarded in the hours.
Hugh's wife says, "I'm afraid. What is coming? Is this woman a dragon dreamer?"
I think she might just be walking around and see that people are having a rough time of it.
Non-psychic people also have eyes.
It turns out that you can see things without opening your third eye.
Even before you open your third eye, you do have two other eyes. Or in Aemond's case, one.
Wow, too soon.
Too soon. Here is Alan of Hull, played by Abubakar Salim.
I remember him from last episode and also all the other things he's been in.
Here is Adam of Hull, played by Clinton Liberty. I like both of their outfits.
Yeah.
They've given Adam and Alan two different backstories where it looks like Alan has been off sailing in the Stepstones fighting alongside Corlys Velaryon, while Adam has apparently been looking for oysters on the beach. So they got two different perspectives.
Yeah. In combination with their two different backgrounds, do you think they could be half-brothers or something?
They don't look at all alike.
Yeah.
Maybe if Alan grew out his hair.
Yeah, maybe they'd look more similar if he did that.
So Alan makes a joke that he's killed more pirates than Adam has, and Adam says, I'm not going to give you soup if you keep making jokes about the pirates I haven't killed. Alan just saved Jeff Bezos' life. He's the richest man in the realm. That's a friendship that could be beneficial to their family. However, Alan is hesitant. Why is he so hesitant?
I don't know. The show hasn't told me yet.
Yeah, we don't
I actually do know.
Well, I mean, Alan does have another reason, which is that there is a war brewing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like we see the scars on Alan's face. Alan has seen some shit.
Yeah, he fought in the Stepstones. How many times? We have no idea.
Maybe he doesn't want to die in a war.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for Adam to come and say, oh, war's great because you can go fight in the war and it'll help us.
Reminds me of how Rhaenyra spoke of war in episode 6. He was like, oh, there's war going on in the Stepstones. I want to go.
Yeah.
War, how cool is war? Because when he went to war, he flew above it and just rained fire down with his dragon where he didn't see any actual combat.
He's also got a lot of belts, does Adam?
I mistrust this silence. He has such a manner of speaking, doesn't he?
I mistrust this silence. Spoken like a man who needs constant activity and goals and sailing and traveling. He's a man who can't sit still.
Spoken like a man who can't bear to hear his own thoughts.
What a frustrating quality in a partner. Like, Rhaenys just sitting here going like, I'm actually like,
I'm vibing.
content for the first time in the 10 years. And Corlys is like, damn.
We need to yap.
Yeah. And also maybe a battle or something.
But what he's getting at is the quiet political situation. Like Daemon's gone off and it's all tense because we don't know what's going on. He's in the calm of the storm to be another sailor.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Wallace and Gromit meme where they're like, I don't trust, what are those chickens up to? Like, he knows the Greens are plotting. Like, if you don't hear anything...
That's where your mind goes.
So Corlys and Rhaenys discuss Daemon in bed after sex, which is exactly what Daemon thinks and wants everyone to be doing all the time, which is talking about him with their clothes off.
Allison and Kristen are the only couple who are thinking about Rhaenyra instead of Daemon.
So they talk about Daemon, and Corlys wishes that he had Daemon
His
on
hand
side.
at the oar, not at the helm.
Yeah, I think Corlys has worked with Daemon before on the Stepstones. He understands Daemon. He knows that you do not want Daemon at the wheel driving the situation, but you do want to use Daemon's energy and direct it towards something productive, which is exactly what he did with the crab feeder.
How much horsepower do you think one Daemon is capable of?
Like 1700 gigabits at least
Whoa.
on a bad day. And Corlys has this great line where he's like, well, I'm not the king, but I manage.
I mean, it's funny on the face of it, but then you remember that Corlys tried for like 30 years to become the king in some capacity.
Oh, well, I'm only the richest lord in Westeros with like the coolest fleet and the hottest wife.
I'm only the most successful sailor ever. I get by.
Yeah, he's very like a humble brag, pleased with himself, which I enjoy.
He does like taking commands.
Yes, I very much enjoy this line where Corlys says he enjoys taking commands.
On occasion.
From Rhaenys.
They share.
She tops. Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Very classy. And then her reaction. Eve Best is the funniest person on this set.
She compares Daemon and Rhaenys to
some
kind of a panther and an electric eel. Such a dangerous combination.
I think there's something strange about Eve Best, but I love it. This shot's really cute.
Yeah. So the next scene is Rhaenyra doing some light reading in the restricted section of the library.
Sexy Dragonstone library. Look at that.
What's she reading about?
She's reading about Aegon's conquest. There we have a little family tree of Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys all united in their conquest.
If only Rhaenyra had a tight, reliable family of people that she could actually trust.
Yeah, I think that's what this is getting at. Daemon just left Rhaenyra, and her father just died, and her son just died, and her daughter just died, and there's an entire half of her family that isn't on side with her. So I think that's what's being juxtaposed here, is the unity of the Targaryen dynasty at Aegon's time versus the disunity at Rhaenyra's time.
Yeah, Rhaenyra's task is tougher than Aegon's in most ways, right?
Yeah. There was no opposing faction with dragons during Aegon's time.
And here we get a cute little illustration of Visenya riding Vhagar.
And Misaria shows up. Thanks, Stefan Darkland helping out there.
Daemon did not make sure that Misaria actually was released as he promised.
It feels like he doesn't think many things, he just doesn't care.
So Rhaenyra does something that makes sense, which is ask Misaria whether she was responsible for murdering Jaehaerys. She says that she told Daemon 2 names. Names which probably were not blood and cheese. Like, it was like they probably have actual names. Probably like Blegenald and Cherry.
I don't know. I reckon it was blood and cheese. Like, why would Misaria know the rat catcher's real name?
I mean, do you think Otto like pays wages to cheese? That's what's written on his paycheck every week.
Sir Tyland, you must double Cheese's wage this fortnight.
They talk about how Daemon has abandoned Rhaenyra. And wonderfully, Misaria says, "Oh yeah, no, that's what Daemon does.
Yeah,
he's done that to me."
And that's what makes Rhaenyra like remember Misaria. This shot is so fun.
Oh yeah,
I love this.
Yeah, like Rhaenyra is like, oh, like all these dots connect. Daemon totally messed you around and disrespected you, and put you in danger. And oh wait, he's doing exactly the same thing to me. Oh wait, he treats me the same way he treats his quote unquote whores.
I need to be done with this guy. I love how when Misaria describes her life and how Daemon has treated her, and like how she had to scramble out of loneliness and build her own house that the High Towers took away from her.
Yeah.
It's all focused on Rhaenyra. Like, we're shown Rhaenyra realizing that what's happened to Misaria is happening to her.
Kind of like Allison. Her power is like a window in a cage. Like, people are ultimately just messing her around. I
like how Misaria assumes that Otto burnt her house down. The hand didn't like that I bared my teeth. When, for all we know, it was just Larys acting on his own because Allison said, yep, do that. But yeah, that's a fun little thing where it's a little unclear. Like, even Misaria doesn't know. Draws into question whether Misaria knows about Larys and his operations.
So Misaria says, I was dumb to try and have an influence on powerful people and I should give up. Do you think she's being sincere? I feel like Misaria was lying a bit to Daemon earlier when she was saying, oh, I just did what I had to do to survive for money with Otto and her goal to like close the child fighting pits. Like, she's not just trying to survive, she's pushing goals.
Yeah.
But maybe at this point, after she's, been in the Dragonstone dungeon, she really is like, fuck this. Like, she really is just like, I can't. Like, no one listens to me. I'm just suffering. I should leave.
It doesn't make a difference. They're all just like tossing me around. It doesn't matter. I might as well have remained a whore.
Which like part of the subtext also is like Rhaenyra will fundamentally only be valued for her body.
Yeah, that's what Emma told her in the first episode.
Yeah. And so after all these decades of trying to fight beyond that, all these decades of trying to be respected as an independent political operative, she realizes that, I'm still being treated just as a body.
She married Daemon as an act of defiance.
Yeah.
She was seeking her own independence and freedom and fire by doing that.
Yeah.
And here she realizes over the course of this episode that she's just as caged as she ever was.
Misaria is like kind of vibing with Rhaenyra for a moment, and then she asks about the scar, and then Misaria goes, get out of here. I think Misaria normally wears a necklace because she's actually a glamour of, of Melisandre.
Is that right?
Because Melisandre is hundreds of years old.
Is this Quaithe? Is this Shiera Seastar, who hasn't been born yet?
Yes, it is. And I love Rhaenyra pretending to be busy and then looking up again, because really she's just like fuming in her head like, oh my god, Daemon sees me the same way he sees Misaria and he will just dump me just like he dumped Misaria.
I love how the line that tells us Rhaenyra remembers Misaria is he said he would marry you. He did marry Rhaenyra, and for what? Like, it's just as much of a joke as it was to Misaria back then.
Rhaenyra's like, I need to reread Fire and Blood. I missed a few things. I need to
What happened to fucking Visera again?
Yeah.
Why did Jaehaerys have so many daughters?
Aegon did a crime. Hey, do you think this is a character, right? Like this is someone.
I'm pretty sure this is Ulf.
Ulf the White?
Yeah.
Aegon killed all the rat catchers because he knows that one of them was responsible for murdering Jaehaerys.
So why not kill all of them and then the rats won't have to worry anymore, I guess.
Which is a fun thought experiment. Is it okay to kill 99 innocent men to kill one guilty man? I'll give you 5 seconds to decide.
Okay, class. Write down your answers now. Aww.
We saw Cheese kick his dog, but his dog still loves him and mourns his death.
I have a theory that he kicked the dog and told it to fuck off so that it wouldn't get caught up in all of this.
Oh, cheese theory. I like that. The cheese man with the heart of gold. So you know that Cheese is walking into the dog right now.
Yeah, that's right. Like how Ned walked that pigeon.
Cheese dog.
Good acting from this dog.
Excellent acting. Here's the royal wheelbarrow. Oh, God, it's the pieces of the Valyria model.
Ah, so it is.
Oh, my God. Yeah, these are the chunks of Viserys's masterwork Warhammer hobby that Aegon smashed. This is what's left of Viserys's legacy being carted out of the room in a wheelbarrow.
So true. As Otto walks in, and later in this scene, he finally allows himself to mourn Viserys in this scene. So Otto is furious with Aegon for having killed all those rat catchers because Aegon, you killed 99 innocent men and it looks really bad for us.
You did a bunch of murders, and this might reflect badly on us politically.
You didn't think about how it looked. I love Tom's delivery of, I had them hanged.
Oh, Tom Glencarny kills it in this scene.
Tom Glencarny kills it in this scene. We're looking at the man killing it right now.
They both are absolutely killing it. This is one of my favorite scenes in House of the Dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's mostly because Otto finally snaps.
Yeah, Otto hasn't expressed an emotion for the last 12 hours of television, and now he just blasts Aegon, finally. And it's so ironic because everything Otto has done has been to get Aegon king.
Yeah.
And now he's finally realizing that it was a terrible idea.
It's so good. So Tom and Rhys are both fantastic in this scene, and even Fabian Frankel, who I was not expecting to blow me away this season. He's really good in this episode. He's sort of phenomenal with his psychotic death stare.
Otto describes Jaehaerys' death as a sacrifice.
With your child's blood, we bought their approval. Imagine being Aegon and hearing that.
I love how, you can see more grey in Otto's beard than we could before.
He's old.
He's old. He's sick of this. He wants to go home.
And this is just like the final straw. This is the anvil that breaks the camel's back.
So he absolutely goes off on Aegon. Thoughtless, feckless, self-indulgent.
The fucking vinegar in his delivery here is fantastic.
Yeah. And everything he says is true. So then Aegon reveals that Kristen Cole has done something. And I love how Kristen just standing there blankly.
Huh?
That blank look is more scary than like the emotion on everyone else. And then Otto, look at Otto's fucking expression.
This scene is, while also like so dramatic and so juicy and intriguing, it's also fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's comedy gold. Because Aegon has just, like, with the rat catchers, that was, like, the worst thing Otto could imagine. And now Otto's like, you did like, what harebrained bullshittery have you done on top of that? I could not imagine that you're worse than you already are.
Yeah, Otto's been watching Kristen Cole the past 20 years, and now he hears that he's gone and done something. Oh, this can't be good. The last time he did something, he beat someone to death in front of an entire wedding party.
And the time after that, he killed Lyman Beesbury with a ball to the brain.
Yeah.
Look at Aegon.
Look at this freeze frame. What are we looking at? Brilliant.
Brilliant.
And Aegon genuinely thinks that it's a fantastic, like, it's just the most incredible thing he's ever heard. Pretending to be your own twin, that's genius. Aegon, your son, who is a twin, just died because he was identified. This idea, sending Arik to kill Rhaenyra, is on the same level to Otto as sending a pig to Aemond. It's a prank.
Yeah. Well, I think in Aegon's brain it is similar. I mean, this is like when
brilliant, because he's a twat.
Exactly. This is Aegon with the same reaction.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Now, this actually broke me a little bit. I was not expecting this.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. He sort of pauses in his tirade to grieve Viserys. He talks of the qualities of Viserys.
His judiciousness, his dignity.
Because Viserys was thoughtful. As much as we clown on Viserys for being indecisive and for making bad decisions, he did have qualities that Aegon desperately lacks.
And Otto, here, you see Otto as Viserys' father.
Yeah, well, Otto doesn't get to be a father to Gwaine while Gwaine is in Old Town, and
he wasn't a father to Allison. He was a political puppet master.
Yeah, and he was a puppet master to Viserys to some extent.
Yeah.
He clearly also loved him and is still grieving him, as he should, because Viserys died not that long ago.
I love how honest Aegon is. You know how we go on about how the Greens all about the appearance of having the moral high ground, and here he says, fuck dignity, which is like the antithesis of what his mother's life has been about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Aegon is understandably stifled by the cloak of righteousness, the false air of moral superiority that his mother insists on.
Why are we trying to put this on? We don't need it. We just need to kill people.
Otto says we are the poorer for Viserys' death.
He was right about you.
Oh, that's brutal. So Aegon says that Viserys made him king. In season 1, Aegon laughed at the idea that Viserys wanted Aegon, but then Allison handed him the knife.
That was
and
episode
then he became
9.
King.
That was 2 weeks ago.
And so in those weeks, I think Aegon has internalized the idea that, I guess I am a good king, and I guess Viserys did choose me, or at least he wants to believe that. But now Otto laughs at that idea.
Is that what you think? He made you king. I made you king, and I regret it.
Which again, like, it is a sick burn by Otto on Aegon, but it's also a burn on himself.
It's a self-burn.
He's a massive hypocrite.
And I think that's what he's realizing here, but he's not admitting it.
Look. I mean, that's the first thing Otto said that actually landed. This is the first thing Otto said that actually hurt Aegon.
Yeah.
Just maybe his father approved of him on some level, and now he's like, oh yeah, no, that is bullshit, isn't it?
And so, that's what makes him tell Otto to fuck off.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Yeah, maybe if Otto hadn't said that, maybe Aegon would have kept him as king, Hand of the King.
And removing Otto as Hand of the King, that's it. It's over now. It's so over now.
I mean, Viserys removed Otto as Hand of the King, and then
but he got Lionel Strong. It's an upgrade. Aegon doesn't have an upgrade on hand. He has Kristen.
Yeah.
He has a psycho.
Well, it's really funny how Aegon just sort of turns to Kristen.
He's like, you'll do.
Yeah, like
I like the thing you did a couple hours ago.
And like, look at the surprise on Kristen's face. They did not talk about this beforehand.
No, it's so impulsive.
Kristen did not know this was on the cards. Aegon has no idea if Kristen has any ability to be the Hand of the King. Otto tosses his hand pin at Kristen's feet. It's all Otto has been for years and years and years.
Yeah, what is he now? And that's sort of what the next scene with him and Allison is about. Is like, what the hell am I now?
I like how Otto leaves the door open behind him. I don't care. I'm not working for you anymore. I'm not responsible for this place anymore.
I would love it if he just knocked some shit over on his way out.
Yeah. He looks just dazed. Like, he just looks like
what the fuck just happened?
Everything's left him. What a great scene. So Rhaenyra comes to Misaria and says,
I sense that there is danger in you yet. She's got a fucking Jedi feeling about this.
But now she's taken some time, she's read a few books, and now she's like, okay, after some consideration, I will free you. Doesn't that contrast nicely with Aegon, who never thinks about things before he acts?
Yeah, he just killed 100 rat catchers by impulse.
Rhaenyra is capable of changing her mind, and I think that's a really important quality. For someone who just, had a son murdered, Rhaenyra is continuing to try to be ethical, which is more than can be said for most of these characters.
She's also doing this on Misaria's word that Daemon said he would let her go.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to not trust Misaria. I don't know. I don't think this is even a smart move. It's a morally principled move, but I don't know if it's a smart move to free Misaria because it's
almost
dangerous.
Almost a Ned Stark moment.
Nice view of Dragonstone we haven't seen before.
Neat. On her way out, Misaria spots Eric, even though Eric was just in there.
Did these guys teleport? What's going on?
Yeah.
Because like Misaria commented on before, there were two of you. So they're doing the subtle setup really nicely.
And yeah, she did see both of them in episode 9. And then she says, I forgot something. We have to go back.
And so, like, one of the great things about this is that Rhaenyra's selfless, altruistic, moral decision to free Misaria ends up saving Rhaenyra's life.
Because Misaria could have just said, nah.
Yeah, she could have seen Arik and said, haha, that's funny.
That is not my problem.
Hey, Arik, Rhaenyra's in this room. Go there. No. But,
yeah, but no, Misaria respects what Rhaenyra did and saves her life.
I enjoy these sort
Rhaenyra breaks her neck.
Yeah, Rhaenyra's just sort of winding down after a long day, and she sort of has some funny behavior, which I enjoy. Arik sneaks past his brother Eric. Eric almost turns around.
Arik notices that Eric doesn't wear his helmet. He walks around with his face out.
Right.
And that's why he takes his helmet off.
It would be a disaster. Like, imagine if Eric had cut off his ponytail. Like what is going on here? Rhaenyra's having her hair braided, and she repeatedly walks away from her handmaiden. What?
It's comedy gold.
I don't get it. That's the Massey sigil, by the way.
Oh, it is so. Is this Elinda Massey?
Yeah.
Right. So neat to look at a costume and see, oh yeah, that makes sense with the story. I love these shots that establish the geography of the battle that's about to happen.
Yeah, so true.
So important.
We get oriented, yeah.
It just makes the whole thing so much more realistic. And we see Arik lock the door so we're not confused when Rhaenyra can't get out later.
I love seeing Rhaenyra just like, just in daily domestic.
Zonking out.
Yeah, just zonking. Like, we've
Being
seen
a
her as
couch
a queen.
potato.
We've seen her grieving, and now she's just like trying to get the thoughts out of her head so she can get some rest.
Yeah, put cartoons on the telly and zone out.
Arik and Laurent Marbrand. Laurent does not recognize that it's the wrong twin.
Even though Luke Tittensaw doesn't have the mole on his left cheek.
I think you might know Luke Tittensaw's face better than Luke Tittensaw does.
I love that shot of Arik's face there, where you can see him like sort of thinking the whole thing through.
So Arik strides in and draws a sword and is about to kill Rhaenyra when Arik appears.
It's so fun and dramatic. It's almost silly, but it's so fun. It's cliched, you could say, but I mean, it's cliched for a reason.
I think this is one of the best fight scenes in all Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was
media.
struggling to think of better ones.
Because you get the sense that these guys are both these really like skilled fighters. They know each other's fighting style. But it also gets really messy really quick when they're like throwing each other around and then strangling each other. And Rhaenyra almost gets caught up and cut up in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And it feels like she's really in danger. Like, I knew Rhaenyra wasn't going to die here, but I felt like she was in real danger. Yeah. They did a fantastic job with that.
And this is great because, like, for all the power Rhaenyra has, just as we've been talking about this whole episode, she's still vulnerable. She's still at the mercy of, a guy with a sword.
And yeah, she tries to get out,
door's locked.
But Arik put the key in the door. So like it all makes sense.
And Laurent's like, I would help, but I cannot tell who is on our side.
Which is just like we were talking about Jaehaera and Jaehaerys being indistinguishable. So like, if they're indistinguishable, does it matter? Does the difference matter? Should they be fighting at all? Of course they shouldn't. We were born together. I still love you. Some people win the lottery and have a good adaptation made of their work. Not many people get to. That's pretty wild, George.
What's the first good adaptation? Oh, is the Night Flyers series good? Are you getting at?
Eric defended his queen against attack, but the horror of having to kill his own twin is such that he cannot live with himself anymore.
And I love that so much. How he fulfilled his duty in like the most visceral, fundamental way. He saved his queen's life from a treacherous infiltrator, an assassin. And at the same time, he committed the most atrocious sin in Westerosi culture. He's a kinslayer. Yeah. Forgive me, there is no absolution for what I've done.
Eric has done his job, but he can't live with it. And it just shows us how these restrictive moral codes destroy men.
And, Arik and Eric were one soul in two bodies. And so with Arik dead, how can Eric go on anyway? Like the only logical conclusion is that he kills himself here.
And yeah, I mean, there's all these other sort of symbolic ironies. Like, Eric and Arik, one soul fighting itself. Just like House Targaryen is one soul, one blood fighting itself.
Just like how most characters are one soul fighting themselves.
Yeah, the human heart in conflict with itself.
That's the whole thing. Maybe that's why George loves twins so much.
Yeah, it's an externalization of the internal conflict of the self. It's so brutal. I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
I was not
It's
expecting.
very quick. He doesn't like skip a beat. He's like, okay, I've killed my brother. Time to die.
I love Rhaenyra's shock. She was just trying to have a nap.
Yeah, she was vibing out to Phineas and Ferb 4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then the episode just goes on. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm shocked they didn't end
We
the
just
episode here.
go to a next fucking scene. It's mental.
Yeah. So basically, Otto just bitches about Aegon and Kristen. I do like, though, that Otto actually confides in Allison here. Because, like, remember when last time Otto got fired as Hand, he just left, and Allison had to chase after him to talk to him.
And then his advice was, Rhaenyra's going to kill all your children. Bye.
Like, Otto only seems to respect Allison now that she is more powerful than he, you know?
I like how he wants to go home.
Daemon.
Oh my god.
Daemon.
Who?
So
Allison has another son?
So Viserys and Allison have a fourth child, a son called Daemon, who has been hanging out in Old Town this
And he's
entire time.
Finally been mentioned.
Hilarious that it's taken them this long to mention him.
Oh my god, there's another blonde weirdo running around?
Did you mispronounce Daemon? This is another impossible to remember name.
Daemon, Aegon, Aemond, Daemon, Rhaena, Rhaenyra,
Lena Baela.
Rhaena, Baela. Why is no one called like Mike?
Yeah.
Where's Jerry and Brian?
Like in June, you know? You need a Duncan in there. Duncan. Oh, there is a Duncan Targaryen. We're going to see him in a night.
Hightower still have strength, and you have a son. He's like, Allison, your son can help us now. Instead of saying, Allison, you can do that, your son will be helpful.
Right, yeah, the gender thing.
Tessarion, Daeron's dragon. Where does she hang out in Old Town? There's no dragon pit there. Does she just live in the Starry Sept?
I would like that. That
or
would be
just
cool.
like wrap herself around the high tower,
Ooh.
or like just haunt the citadel.
I love all of those
I like
ideas.
all of this.
Do you think that the maesters like study the dragon and like take little samples of its scales and inspect its
poop
stool for chemical? I love how we both assumed that the maesters would study the dragon.
Well,
poop.
of course.
For some reason, maesters just love bowel movements. You know the theory that dragon poop is obsidian?
I haven't encountered that one, no.
Makes sense to me. Allison, interestingly, tells Otto, don't go to Old Town, go to High Garden and make sure that the Tyrells support Aegon.
Oh my god, are we going to see like good High Garden?
I love how Allison gives Otto an instruction. He looks a little surprised. I don't think he's like super comfortable with following orders from his daughter, but it appears that he accepts that order. Interesting new dynamic between Otto and Allison. The boot is on the other foot.
I was wondering what they were going to do with Otto from now on.
It's interesting that Allison doesn't go, haha, dick's on you. I've always been frustrated that you've always manipulated me and I don't want you to come back. She could say that.
Yeah.
But Allison is so starved for allies right now. So starved for people she can trust.
She has Laris and Kristen.
Yeah.
And she can't trust Laris.
Otto has not been great to Allison, but he's one of the few that she can kind of semi-trust. And so Otto and Allison affirm that they will make peace together, which, you know.
We will see how has that gone so far?
We have seen Otto being nakedly pushed towards Hightower bias by Herbert. Is Otto being honest with himself?
I really love how the first thing that Otto tries when we see Hobart push him to, put Aegon on the throne in episode 3, the first thing he politically does is suggest marrying Rhaenyra to Aegon.
Which is the correct move. Yeah.
It's the thing that makes this war impossible.
Yeah.
Although, Rhaenyra is, 14 years older than Aegon? Maybe even more?
Yeah.
That's not conducive to producing heirs. Do you think we will get a scene from him at some point where he admits, oh, what have I done?
Yeah, I may
He almost got there in the previous scene with Aegon.
Yeah.
You could see it on his face, but he didn't say it.
In this moment of disempowerment and vulnerability, this should be the time to admit those things. But he's still sort of covering his ass and saying that, nah, we're still going to win. Just you're going to do it instead of me. Bye. Like, really, Otto?
I'm going to go party it up in Highgarden, I guess.
That's a pretty good place to be right now.
Everything we hear about Highgarden is just sick. Like, it's just a lovely place to be.
So Allison does confess some vulnerability and does admit some failure.
Mistakes.
What
have I done?
She says, I have sinned. I mean, Allison has a lot on her mind that she's not been able to confess to anyone. I mean, I guess she's confessed some of this to Kristen, but I mean, she can't. I mean,
Kristen's a part of it.
Yeah, Kristen is a lot of things, but he's not someone who you turn to for...
Yeah. I mean, we saw when he was Rhaenyra's confidant, his advice was, do you want me to kill Jason Lannister?
So it's like, if anyone, surely she can talk to her father.
Who has just shown vulnerability for the first time in two decades. And then he says, no, I'm good. I don't want to hear about
this.
That.
This is devastating.
Yeah.
Alicent is looking into her father's eyes and saying, I need to get something off my chest.
Yeah. This is of religious importance to me. And he smiles and says, no, thank you.
Which is...
I'm good.
It's so messed up because Otto is dumping some of his feelings on Alicent.
And responsibilities. His responsibilities of running the realm. He's like, okay, you've got to deal with this now. Bye.
What a god-awful father. God-awful father.
It's so fun to watch, though.
Well, it's so real. It's so real.
It is incredibly real because the next fucking scene... Allison does the exact same thing to her son.
Yeah. Alicent walks out of this awful interaction.
Is devastated. The kid's dead inside.
He's fidgeting with his fingers just like how Alicent fidgeted with her fingers.
He needs a fidget spinner.
Alicent sees and walks away.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I can't deal with that.
Like she struggles with it. She almost speaks. She cannot do it.
And earlier we saw Aegon do the same thing to Helena.
It's generational. Otto fails to connect with Allison. Alicent fails to connect with Aegon. Aegon fails to connect with Helena. None of them have learned from their parents how to engage emotionally.
And then you think back to that scene with Jace and Baela, which seemed pretty incidental at the time. And now I'm thinking like, oh God, they actually can talk to each other and they talk about their parents.
Yeah, given the theme of like generational awfulness being passed down, the Blacks have a much better chance of being healthy people and
until
rulers.
You remember Daemon is almost in charge of the Blacks.
If Daemon went off and died in the Riverlands, that would
secret
save
third
everyone
faction.
a lot of problems.
Blacks, Greens, Daemon.
Daemon is a faction in and of himself.
And then even secreter fourth faction, Larys.
And I'm sure part of what's going through Alicent's head here is she's like, she wants to comfort her son, but it's also, he raped Diana.
He just sent an assassin to kill my best friend.
Yes.
Does she know that? She might not know that, but yeah.
Another thing Otto probably should have told Alicent but didn't.
By the way, Rhaenyra's going to die. So I'm not worried about any of that. No, he doesn't think that's going to work.
I'm leaving before you blame me for the death of Rhaenyra.
He's pretending to be his own twin. Brilliant.
This prank might just work. Alicent takes off her jewelry, takes off her armor. Oh, here's Kristen.
Giving you that look. When are we going to...
Isn't it tonight?
Are we gonna... Ow.
I feel like Kristen's like semi-rejection of Allison earlier might add a little bit more energy and intensity and anger into this session. But yeah, Allison treating Fabian Frankel as like a punching bag is pretty fun.
Pretty fun.
Because she's unleashing this energy that she can't express to anyone else or in any other way.
Do you think, how much of it is real? Like, is it just for fun? Is it just for sexual gratification? Gratisfaction.
Can't get no gratisfaction. I think,
that she's slapping him. Or is it like, actually, there's a bit of it that's real. I want to hit you.
Yeah, I mean, part of Alicent knows that Kristen is an evil murderer. Alicent and Kristen together express their hatred for themselves. Their self-hate and their self-love is expressed through their sex.
And that's why it's so hot for them. It's fucked up because they're thinking of each other as, themselves and each other and Rhaenyra.
It feels like they're using each other. Like this is most certainly not love. This is not love. Like there's passion here, but it's hateful. Looks a little bit like Kristen's trying to eat Alicent here. But yeah, that was episode 2.
My God.
Holy hell. Holy moly.
Like, how?
Is there a better episode of House of the Dragon?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there isn't. Like, this not only has some of the best scenes in the series, like Otto and Aegon's conversation, Rhaenyra and Daemon's conversation, but also just like the Aemond scene is beautiful with Sylvie. Like, Aemond and Sylvie. It is incredible how they've taken something that is faithful to the book, but is so much better than the book. And the horror of the funeral procession with Jaehaerys. The guy's
staff. What a cool staff.
I think it's an absolute banger episode. And I can't wait to talk about the next one.
Thank you, Claire Kilner. Thank you, Sarah Hess.
Thank you, Ball Boys.
Can I have another?
And we'll see you next week.
How did we not think of Glud and Schweeze?
Oh, I literally just got it. You texted me that, and
what's he talking about?
I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. But now that I hear it out loud,
Blood and Schweet's genius.
that is genius.